It's Joe Hendry's time. I feel like the momentum is behind him. I feel like it was a kind of a test run, a dry run. He had that one match, and people were hoping, like, oh my God, I hope Joe Hendry wins, becomes the face of TNA, and he didn't. And his fan base, they still stick with him, and they're still behind him, and he's still hot, and they still believe in him. They truly do believe in Joe Hendry. So I think it is the time for Joe Hendry to become the champion of TNA.
My guess at this time, that's what you're supposed to say when you talk to wrestlers, are two of the most famous wrestling brothers of all time. Maybe the greatest tag team of all time, but I don't know. Maybe Bully Ray will have an issue with that, and he'll tweet about it or something. But let's get to it. Oh, you know them. It's Matt and Jeff Hardy, the Hardy Boys. Can we still call you the Hardy Boys? Do you guys like when people still call you Hardy Boys?
Yeah, Hardy men just don't flow.
Yeah, Hardy, because we're still boys at heart. We're still the 18 and 16-year-old guys that had big aspirations of making it in the business one day.
There's a in every creative person, there's a level of immaturity like keeps it going.
Yeah.
But honestly, the fountain of youth is something you guys are certainly tapping into through all the ups and downs. And you guys are up once again. It is so great to see you guys wiser, smarter, but still middle-aged and crazy. Maybe like I guess Terry Funk back in the day. I got to see you guys have an amazing tables match with the System at Final Resolution for TNA, and now it leads into another big match here coming up at TNA Genesis, going down in our Garland, Texas. Tickets are available at TNAWrestling.com. You can get your tickets now, TNAWrestling.com, January 19th. You guys take on the Rascalz, a team that is maybe the modern-day version of the Hardy Boys. I've heard people kind of make that kind of comparison. The fast, high-paced team, a lot of double teams, very colorful, very extreme, very playful, certainly the life of the party. What do you guys think of that comparison to the Rascalz?
Yeah, just last week on Impact, we acknowledged that those guys remind us a lot of younger us in many, many ways. You know, they're young, they're talented, they're handsome, good-looking guys. You know, they're fearless, they're extreme. So they really are, in many ways, a modern-day version of the original Hardy Boys, Matt and Jeff, back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And it's going to be exciting because I know those guys grew up as massive Hardy Boys fans. I mean, they tell us about that so much that they would do swantons and leg drops off their bed or off their couch or whatever. And they said, we wanted the Hardy Boys to show up. We just wanted to hang out with the Hardy Boys one time. Well, they finally said our name, and like Joe Hendry, we appeared, and we're going to be facing them at Genesis on January 19th. And we're super hyped about this match.
Jeff, do you have any take on this? There's some people that have been doing your swantons your entire life. Did you ever think that when you started doing swantons? Like, yeah, I'm the only guy who's ever going to do this. And now everyone has their own version of a swanton, it feels like now.
Yeah, I kind of felt like it would catch on. But the guy, what's his name? Leon Slater. Leon Slater in TNA, he does the Swanton 450, which is otherworldly in my opinion. But yeah, I've been watching a lot of Rascal matches, and I feel like they're at Genesis, TNA Genesis 2025, it might be a Genesis for like this new vibe of what and who the Hardys are, because I've been watching a lot of Rascal matches, so we might be seeing some pretty interesting counters.
So tell me about where you guys are now in your life. You guys have been through so many ups and downs, both in and out of the ring. Obviously, the physicality at your age is a different thing. I've heard the term, work smarter, not harder. Is there a difference and adaptation to what you guys are doing? Because I watched the Final Resolution match, and yeah, people age, but I mean, do you guys embrace the age, but still want to give people the Hardys the best they can? And because you guys were still doing all of the wild stuff I've seen you do before, just like you did at any point, people are still seeing the Hardy Boys play the hits, and hits are someone going through a table and doing all that wild stuff. Is there a sense of you that's like, we can only do that now and then, or are you just like, no, we got to give them what they came to see?
I think we both feel very young at heart, and I think that is something that's important, and we're just both very passionate about this. I mean, being pro wrestlers was our dream. It's what we want to do. If we won the World Tag Team title in any promotion at all, one single time, uno, then we would have been happy. We would have been great. So long story short, man, we are very happy to go out there and perform at a high level as long as we can, even if we're a little older. It takes a little longer to recover. I get that. But I want to commend Jeff first and foremost. How eerily similar was his swanton in Final Resolution off the balcony, through the table. And the table at Madison Square Garden in the Dudley's tables match was set straight across. It was perfectly aligned so he could hit it perpendicular. This one was slanted. He almost had to go like parallel, and he still nailed it perfectly. It was incredible, man.
Yeah, and that's just proof positive that when I do things like that, I think I fear my brain. That's my biggest enemy. It's just like being afraid of myself as far as what I can and can't do these days. But that's proof positive right there, man, that, I don't just do this alone. My energy with the TNA audience and my faith and all that good stuff comes into play with all those moments. But, man, it made me excited for the future in TNA.
I love that I'm still excited about jumping off stuff and putting people through tables. It's still a thrill. It doesn't change at all. The adrenaline is still there. Obviously,
I want to throw this in. I want to say kudos to TNA because they have put us in a position to succeed. They understand that we're a legacy act. They have put us in a position to succeed. We worked hard. We feuded 6 months with the system to finally, get to that Full Metal Mayhem match, which was our specialty. Injected these amazing paintings. It was Full Metal Mayhem reimagined. And the original Hardy Boys earned the TNA World Tag Team titles. We earned them, and now that we're getting some wins under our belts. We're taking on the Rascalz. We're taking on any challengers in the future. And myself and my brother, we're ready to evolve and go to whatever the next evolution of the Hardys are. It's something we're both very excited about too.
Your guy, you've reinvented yourself a dozen times, and obviously you had probably, with various incarnations, maybe one of the more popular characters in the history of TNA wrestling. What is that? As you bring that up, this is something I was going to ask you. What is the next chapter of the Hardys? Because it doesn't seem like, oh yeah, we'll give you the Hardys. We will give you Hardys with a Z at the end anytime we can. But you're inkling at something else there. What is that? What is that open thing? Because you guys are very creative gentlemen in and out of the ring. How do you think you're going to express yourselves maybe in this new chapter of the Hardys that comes next here with Genesis on the horizon?
Well, I have this alter Nero of mine that's kind of like the god of my imagination up here. And its name is Willow, and there's actually a new Willow mask made, new faceplate design, and if it fits good, I'm sure I'm going to fill it, throw out some promos maybe on social media and kind of see how it's feeling. But definitely it's on my bucket list to bring Willow back into TNA before my career is done.
Matt, is there any previous just possible incantations or spirits that have possessed you or influenced your career that could maybe make some things either obsolete or deleted in the possible future?
Maybe. I mean, you could see touches of that, but I think what we have in mind, I've talked with Jeff about some ideas and whatnot, is transcending just being two superstar wrestlers, transcending them and becoming something even bigger than TNA, bigger than the industry. And I think there is something we could do together where not only are we mainstream pro wrestlers, we're part of mainstream pop culture, because in some ways we are. There's a lot of SoundCloud rappers that can't stop talking about us in songs, and we love everybody. We get lots of love for everybody, but I think there's a way that we might even transcend being superstars, being even something more. Like what? How can we be more? And that's kind of like what I'll leave as a teaser.
All right, I was trying to be vague myself there as well. But let's get into this. Recently, some expansions, some big things for TNA. Announcements of massive arena events, some of the biggest events we've heard of TNA coming up here in 2025. An expanded presentation in Canada with Sportsnet as well. And obviously some superstars in the roster, not to deride anyone else, who are blowing up here at the moment. Specifically Joe Hendry, who everyone is talking about, and you guys have been able to perform with him. Describe the overwhelming year he has had in 2024, and then you guys getting to perform with him. That's a special thing.
Yeah, I mean, Joe had just such a magnificent year in 2024, and he's someone who has really found himself, who he is. He's been able to take Joe Hendry and take the combination of the pro wrestler and the musician, put them together perfectly, and turn it up to a 10, turn it up to an 11, turn it up to a 12, and then he knows how to promote himself on social media. He's so good at that. I have to give a shout out to JB, Jeremy Borash. He was very instrumental in that whenever Broken Matt Hardy started. Like, he would give me things to tweet, and he would set up things, and we would put things in the videos that would particularly, would be particularly picked out to be a meme or a GIF or whatever. And Joe Hendry is a master of that. He's so good at that. And on top of that, he's just a great dude with a great attitude, a great mentality, and he busts his ass and works hard. And we're looking forward to hopefully teaming with Joe Hendry, doing a little bit with him here again in the future. Yeah,
and I definitely hope to do a song with him sometime this year, and even have a little battle of music, my music versus his music, and who knows, I might can get a little darker, and it's just super exciting to think of where that can go with myself and Joe Hendry.
Wow, a duel and a duet at the same time. I'm on board for it. He's going to challenge Nic Nemeth, someone that you guys are both familiar with in your many, many years in the business, for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, a championship you guys are both familiar with. Tell me about the opportunity here, because it's a red-hot year. Everyone's talking about him doing so many other things that aren't TNA, and he's had a shot at the world title before, but who are you picking? Is it the show-off, the guy who's been holding it down for a while? Or is it the guy who has all this momentum you're talking about? Nic Nemeth or Joe Hendry? Who do you got at Genesis?
I really have to go with Joe Hendry. I just feel like it's Joe Hendry's time. I feel like the momentum is behind him. I feel like it was a kind of a test run, a dry run. He had that one match, and people were hoping, like, oh my God, I hope Joe Hendry wins, becomes the face of TNA, and he didn't. And his fan base, they still stick with him, and they're still behind him, and he's still hot, and they still believe in him. They truly do believe in Joe Hendry. So I think it is the time for Joe Hendry to become the champion of TNA. I think that's best for business, and I think that is the direction that TNA needs to go in right now.
I agree, and he can lead TNA right on into 2026, man.
All right. We're already booking into the next year. I love this stuff. Obviously, you guys have had this incredible just resurgence and stuff like that. I talked about some new character things that you want to do, but accomplishments are some things that drive every performer, whether they're in wrestling or not. I had some conversations with some wrestlers in different organizations, and they said accomplishments and goals are huge at any stage of your career. Is there a goal that you guys maybe haven't stated just yet, or haven't really explored to see if it's even something that's on that bucket list? Because you guys have done so many things. It's a Hall of Fame career. If you weren't even active right now, is there something that you guys want to achieve in TNA or in general in entertainment or whatever that you maybe haven't done, that people maybe aren't expecting from you at all?
I don't know if there's one specific thing that really pops in my mind. I do feel like now that we are the TNA World Tag Team Champions, a few weeks after that, we became the first ever inaugural fourth rope champions. Mm-hmm. So that was very cool. Anytime we can go on an expedition of gold, we are here for it. We want to do everything that we can to submit that we are one of the GOATs, that we are one of the greatest of all times when it comes to tag team wrestling. And yes, the Dudleys will sell you on that they are the most decorated superstars in history, and they are the most decorated tag team in history. But there's been no one that has done as much insane stuff as myself and Jeff, and has been able to have this kind of longevity, especially this wild man behind me. He truly is an anomaly.
Yeah, when I returned to TNA this time, I totally understand why Loaded, the Hardy Boys music was played, because it had never been played in TNA before. But I've heard a lot, man, people that know my whole career in TNA, like a lot of people said, man, I was waiting to hear Modest. That was my first theme in TNA. And that's one thing I definitely want to do, is sing Modest on the way to the ring before a match. So that way the paint, the music, the wrestling will all kind of combine, and I'll be fulfilled.
Matt, Jeff, it is so awesome to talk to you guys and see where you guys are now in your career. I'm excited for what's coming up. I'm excited that you guys that have given so much to TNA and the wrestling business as a whole are on this ride that TNA is going into in 2025. And it looks like TNA's. Tell me about that, by the way, because you guys have been there when it's down and you've been there when it's up. Why is this year feeling so much more positive and optimistic than maybe even years in the past for TNA in the greater picture of wrestling? I'm not asking about other, or everyone's this. I was like, look what TNA's doing. They're really moving the needle for themselves in a positive direction.
Yeah, I think the things that have moved the needle for TNA, I think first and foremost is Joe Hendry getting hot, becoming a viral sensation. I think the exchange with WWE NXT has been a very positive thing for them. I think it's been positive for NXT, and I think it's been positive for TNA. It definitely helps remind people that TNA is still out there and that it is still relevant right now. I think Nic Nemeth coming to TNA and becoming the champion, I think that has been beneficial to them as well. And I think myself and Jeff coming there, because it gives TNA some star power, and it's guys like Nic Nemeth was on WWE TV for, almost 20 years. He's got a lot of TV time. People know who he is. He's very much a household face. They might not know his new name or his shoot name, but he's a household face. And Jeff and I, we are household names in many ways too. So all of that's helped. And then they're at the position where I feel like in their booking, they're doing a great job at telling stories, making the most out of the roster they have, and they're able to elongate stories and keep things compelling. And I think also the talent has been delivering some really incredible matches on top of that. I think the in-ring product has been really good. The storytelling has been pretty good. Has been really good. And just overall, the not a huge roster, but they've been able to stretch things out and maximize and optimize everything. And I think that's really important. And they're getting the most out of everyone.
Yeah, I had no idea that Matt was going to go to TNA. And I finished my workout one morning and I went upstairs and my wife said, "Did you know Matt was going back to TNA?" I said, "No, I had no idea." And then I naturally watched the footage of it and I was like, "Oh my God, that is awesome." I was so surprised. And then this crazy egotistical thought or something ran through my mind. I was like, I don't need to go back to TNA. Maybe I just sign with AEW for a little longer, prove myself there and have a real good run. Then I was like, what are you talking about? You had an amazing time in TNA and you did so much cool stuff in TNA in my last run here. So I was like, oh my God, it's meant to be. My contract had just ran out with AEW the night before Matt showed up. So it was perfect timing. So with that said, it just, it felt meant to be. And it's super exciting. Like even during that tables match, we rocked the retro Hardy Boys gear, and just seeing that like this later in life was super inspiring to me, I know, and hopefully to a lot of people out there as well.
It's super inspiring. It's super inspiring to me that we can both walk still at this age. So it's extremely inspiring that we can still wrestle and pull off a match like we did at Final Resolution.
All right. Watch yourself on the motocross, Jeff. All right, that's all I'll say. Watch yourself on the motocross. Those motocrosses, they don't sell, they don't catch. They are a great base. I'm
still fractured from 2015 or whenever I broke my tibia. Oh my God, that ruined my jumping ability.
Oh man. Thank you guys so much for the time. You guys are absolute goats, maybe the greatest tag team of all time, the greatest wrestling brothers of all time. Absolutely fantastic. TNA Genesis goes down and streams worldwide through Triller. You can get all the information. Of course, check out TNA Plus as well. It's at TNAWrestling.com. Garland, Texas. Get your tickets now. January 19th. The Hardys are going to be there. Come on. You got to be there too.